Well, it's time for us to, of course, do our very important talks that we do every Monday. Well, we've reached a revolutionary and unique point in our society where men are beginning to understand the difficulty that women face navigating in a world whose rules have been established and maintained by men. And this morning we are saying enough is enough, and there's no longer any excuse for gender-based violence.
Absolutely. Now, there are, however, some men in sectors do not get this message. And while this discussion is largely for them, today we are asking the question, what can men do to address gender-based violence? And we have our panel of experts joining us this morning, of course, relationship expert Dr. Eve, and we also have the marketing vice president for AB InBev to help kickstart this conversation, Andrea Quaye, to talk about their involvement in the #NoExcuse movement. Thank you very, very much for joining us. Lovely to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for
Nice to be here.
Yeah.
And especially with Andrea, who I'm just learning about what work she does. And isn't it fantastic that we've got alcohol on our team? Because most violence occurs
Stems,
from alcohol, men who are drinking too much.
Let's talk about that
This
for
is
a moment.
exciting.
Andrea, why is it so important that AB InBev supports and endorses the No Excuses movement?
Great. So we launched this movement on the 13th of November, which was past Monday. And as a beer company, we decided, so AB InBev is actually SAB. We decided to really propel this movement because we believe that gender-based violence is a big issue in our society. The stats are just shocking.
Staggering.
There are 3 women that are killed every day by their close partners here in South Africa. And we've got the highest levels, one of the highest levels of femicide in the world. And so as a company that markets and talks to men, we believe that in order for our company to be sustainable in the long term, it is important that we are in a healthy society. And so we took our biggest brand, which is Carling Black Label, that has the most users across South Africa, because we believe that Carling will have critical mass and will be able to deal with the big problem like gender-based violence.
Absolutely. And promote also responsible use
exactly
of alcohol, which is amazing. Now, I want to ask you this as well. With this #NoExcuse, the movement that you have started, now, normally, I mean, these discussions are missed by a lot of people, mainly because, I don't know, the lack of information, a place where people can openly discuss these kind of things, especially around gender-based violence. But do you feel that living in a social media age like we do, the #NoExcuse are able to get into all layers of society?
Exactly. So we kicked this movement off with a big television commercial that will be targeted towards 10 million men. So 10 million men will actually see this commercial that asks men to take action and to say no excuse. Because what we find in gender-based violence is that there are many excuses for it. Oh, sorry, I was drunk. Oh, sorry, I'm having a tough time at work. Oh, sorry, you provoked me. And so we're trying to raise awareness. Television still is the biggest medium. However, we are going into social media. We're going, into social media to raise awareness. But we've also got a lot of innovative. So we have, for example, a bot, which is a virtual counselor where men can actually ask questions 24/7 in an anonymous manner and get feedback. So definitely social media is important. But what's even more important is actually going to people. So we have a squad at SAB called the Smart Drinking Squad that will go to 10,000 taverns to engage with tavern owners as well as people that frequent it to talk about responsible drinking as well as gender-based violence.
Powerful stuff. Well, we will be taking calls throughout the rest of this discussion. So if you have a question or comment about how men can be responsible and accountable for gender-based violence, please feel free to give us a call on 021 430 9881.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Well, in the wake of Sunday's International Men's March to Parliament, and of course, just before we start with 16 days of activism of no violence towards women and children, we are talking about probably one of the biggest issues that South Africa faces in this day and age is gender-based violence. It's something that happens every single day. Some really shocking statistics that you shared with us before we went into the break, Andrea. So thank you so much for joining us, Andrea, and of course, Dr. Eve here as we discuss this very important subject.
I'm very glad we are talking about this subject because as a man myself, I must be honest, it's hard for me to understand why another man can be like that towards a woman. You know, I was brought up, you know, my family, had very deep values with concerns to women as well, be respectful. And, you know, even when it comes to alcohol, for myself, I've never even had the urge to be mean. I don't understand it. So I'm so happy that we are unpacking this and trying to understand it, because why is it that men are really taking a long time to start realizing the magnitude of this problem, the hashtag #MeToo, where women are able to kind of express how they feel? What is it, Dr. Eve, that men just don't get?
There is something called privilege, and therefore I think that as a man, you're enlightened and you're saying that you have an awareness and you would never go to those places you went. But the fact is that there is such an underlying sense of entitlement and privilege that you're probably not even aware of it. Unless you are a trans woman, in other words, a man who's transitioned into being a woman, you would never know the difference of what it's like to be a woman in the world and how much privilege automatically, I think, Andrea, you would agree with me, because you're involved in this campaign now, men just have. A man and a woman could walk into a store and a man's going to be treated very differently to what a woman is. So there isn't an understanding of what it's like to be a woman. And the entitlement that men automatically feel, that sense of power, that sense of privilege that they automatically have, which is then projected onto the way that they treat women. So I'm kind of cynical around not your campaign, it sounds wonderful, but about campaigns in general, because they haven't made a difference. And what is the difference now? Now that the world, or not in the world, but the world of powered, privileged men, white men, are coming forward and are saying, women are saying, these men have abused me. I mean, suddenly there is this awareness that's happening, but not on everyday level. So I'm delighted to hear that you are aiming it at everyday men, and men who are just sitting around drinking. Those are the men that need to be targeted. I mean, I absolutely love this idea of this campaign. So we're up against, it's not even a problem, Leanne, it's an epidemic. It's a health epidemic that is facing the world, and specifically, unfortunately, South Africa. Why is it that men are suddenly becoming aware? I don't think that they're suddenly becoming aware. They need to be on the ground. There need to be men who are talking to men and are saying to men at every possible level, you know, hey, dude, that's not the way to talk to a woman, or I don't really enjoy what you're saying.
But it starts with the awareness. I think the fact that there is starting to become more talk about this, you know, the issues raised to the surface as well, which I think is phenomenal, and it will take men to educate men.
I agree completely. I think men need to be shamed. Quite categorically, just as women have felt shamed all the years, for generations, women continue to feel shame for what men do to them. It's time that men get shamed, and that's what's beginning to happen.
Powerful stuff. We are taking your calls, 021-430-9881. If you have a question, if you have a comment, this is a safe space. We're simply unpacking this so that we can actually start getting to what Dr. Eve calls an epidemic in our country.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Welcome back. You're tuned into your Feel Good Breakfast Show, Expresso, right here on SABC3. Right now, a very, very serious and important topic we are talking about, of course, in the wake of Sunday's International Men's March to Parliament, ahead of the start of 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children. We have Dr. Eve in studio, as well as Andrea from AB InBev to talk about this subject this morning. We also have a caller on the line just before we get chatting. Good morning, Anonymous from Durban.
Good morning. Hi, guys.
Good morning. Good morning.
Wonderful topic, I must say. Well, this coming from somebody that has been abused, I feel that men need to know that there are consequences and that the women actually need to stand up and report this to their local police station. On my side, I think the police need to be very supportive, because I didn't receive that. They generally look at you as though you're just wasting their time, but it's something that has to be taken up. And we have to fight against this cause.
All right. So coming back to the support. So once an incident happens, I mean, you should have, as a woman, the full support of the police working with you, or whatever authority that you do approach.
Definitely, it's very serious, right?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much.
Imagine doing what Anonymous does, is go through the abuse and then have the courage to say, I'm going to report it. The courage, because it takes enormous courage. And then walking into a police station and not having the support, not having the judicial support, the police support, family support to be able to carry through. And that's why men keep getting away with this stuff.
And the issue of support is a massive one. I mean, Andrea, I think you mentioned it earlier on. 50% of women are victims of abuse. 3 women a day are killed by an intimate partner. This has been allowed to go on for so long that we're at the point where 3 women a day are killed. Let's talk about it. Why has it taken so long? So very long for us to address the fact that men are wielding power over women with no kind of, where there's been just nothing done about it.
No consequences
Absolutely,
to the men, and I wonder if there are going to be any consequences. There's a groundswell happening, of course, that men, as you were saying earlier, are becoming more aware of it. And so, I mean, why did you decide to get involved? This is important, that suddenly corporate world are deciding to get involved. It's a fantastic move.
So I mean, Dr. Eve, you said earlier on, like, what is different about this? I suppose what is different about this is that the private sector, and a big private sector, is getting involved. We're not getting involved just for the 16 days. We're getting involved for the year, for the next 5 years. This is a commitment that that we're making. The reality is that gender-based violence is not sexy. It is taboo. People don't want to talk about it. Brands, corporates do not want to get associated with it because we are afraid that our brands are going to be tarnished. And I suppose in the same way that we are saying no excuse, we cannot stand by as this is happening. So we want to be a force for good. And at AB InBev, we want to be what we call the ideal company. And one of the key characteristics of the ideal company is a company that stands up and makes a difference in society. And so that is why we are getting involved. And we talk to men, we deal with alcohol, and we are acutely aware that for men that abuse alcohol, the percentage of men that abuse alcohol, that abuse women, there is a link in that. And instead of us putting our heads in the sand and just standing by, we want to be part of the solution.
Take action. Take
And
action.
you're
want to
taking a
take
risk.
action.
You're taking a risk as a
It's a
company
bold
where
move.
people might say, we don't want to drink your beer because of what messages you're giving. Good on you, girlfriend.
Dr. Eve, quickly on that,
Yes.
well, thank you very much. I wish we had more time to talk about that, but I think from my side, if I can call out all men out there to be real men, to be respectful towards women. You're not allowed to raise a hand or anything. I'm also asking for all of the men out there to act on other men. If you see something happening, talk about it.
Yes.
Get involved, and this needs to stop. I mean, it's something that I very, very strongly feel like, because there literally is no excuse. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Ewan.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.